I got zapped with 220 volts.
All the masks have dropped in the back of the cabin. Is there a problem?
So I got like 7 staples in my head.
Die, die, die.
I had pyro go off on my body once. If I wouldn't have been wearing a mask over my head, I would have burnt my face for sure. And I probably, if I wouldn't have been wearing in-ear monitors that had some sort of kind of filter in them, I probably would have really hurt my eardrums too. I was on fire, and it was all humans making mistakes. Number one, I went up on a song that we added last minute, and I forgot it was a pyro song. So I walked up, but however, I would say, well, if you saw me walk up, why'd you light me up?
In August 2009, you were hospitalized due to blood clots. After the hospitalization, you stopped drinking alcohol and haven't drank since.
Well, the doctor, with the blood clots, I said, well, Doc, I said, well, how do I get this? I go, blood clots. I figure you get this way when you're like 80, 90 years old, you get blood clots. He goes, well, no, Zach, he goes, you can get it if you're a truck driver, if you're, airplane pilot, if you're stationary in any length of time.
Sure.
You could be susceptible to it. I said, wow. I go, well, I don't really want to do that much. I go, I work out, do cardio, lifting I'm on stage for the 2 hours, whatever it is, hour and a half we do, whatever. And he goes, I go, but then again, I thought about it. I go, well, when I'm practicing, I'm sitting down. And when we're at the piano, you're sitting down. Then when me and you were at the Irish pub, we're sitting down.
Yeah.
Then we're back to practicing, we're sitting down. Then when we're back at the Irish pub, we're sitting down. Then when we're back at the Irish pub, we're sitting down. So, I go, yeah, there was kind of a lot of sitting down going on. I go, but he goes, let me ask you this, Zach. He goes, did your parents have this? I said, well, I don't know, Doc. I said, they're both up in God's Tavern, so I can't tell you whether I got it from my mom and dad. And he just goes, well, I don't know how to say this. And I had the immortal beloved with me when I was at the doctor's office, and she goes, I don't know how to say this because as a doctor, I don't think it's right, but if you got this from your parents as if this was hereditary, then that means all your years of drinking and thinning your blood may have saved your life.
Did you
and
really say that?
I turned to the immortal beloved and I said, see, drinking is good for something.
Now let's get into some of your near-death experiences here. So between a couple of the flying incidents...
It was actually my very first flight as a captain. Off goes the pressurization alarm. And we have to do an emergency descent and drop all the masks and all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't like in the movies because nobody was screaming, everybody was, whatever. And
I watched the video I got.
Yeah, but there was no like loud bang. In fact, it all went in slow time and not a big drama. And halfway through it, we're, me and my co-pilot are shh, on the oxygen mask, everything, and there's a knock on the door, and they beep, so we, hang on a minute, what's going on there? The door opens, and there's the cabin crew member, senior cabin crew member sitting there, no oxygen mask on, going, all the masks have dropped in the back of the cabin, is there a problem? We were like, oh. She goes, oh, I get the picture, hang on. And she goes and puts an oxygen mask on. I was just like, this is not in the script, So nothing ever happens like it does in the movies.
In 1987, you almost died of asphyxiation after a safety rope broke during a concert stunt where you were pretending to hang yourself.
Well, we did the hanging all the time. When you go up to the gallows, which is a real gallows, they bring the rope down, puts a rope around your neck. What you don't see is the piano wire down the back of the rope.
Okay.
That is 1 inch shorter than the rope. So when you fall through the thing, it stops you before the rope hits you, but it stops. Mm-hmm. Every night, right there. Well, after doing it 100 times, it was fine. And it worked every night. Never thought that maybe the piano wire might start getting a little bit old.
After a while.
Yeah. And snap. And as soon as I heard that snap, your self-preservation takes over. I felt the thing, as soon as I felt it more pressure than it should be, I snapped my head back and it went over like that. Okay. If I would have had like a Jay Leno chin, it would have caught me, and it would have been
bad news.
Really bad news.
Yeah.
But as soon as that went like this, I put my head up and it slipped up. It burned me pretty good.
Ooh.
The rope burned me pretty good. And I did get knocked out when I went down through the floor because I dropped 8 feet. And I looked at the rope and I looked at the wire was snapped. Because the next day we had a wire on there that would hold like an elephant, you know.
Sure.
The wire went from that big to like that big. And it's the same thing with the guillotine. Tonight when he's the one that pulls the thing.
Wow.
You know, there's that moment of going, die, die, die. As soon as I hear that thing going, I'm going, and then, you know, I go, okay, I'm okay.
The inspiration for the song Shock Me came from an incident when you were electrocuted on stage.
Yeah.
You were knocked down from the jolt, and the concert was delayed for about 30 minutes, but you finished the show still, although you had lost feeling in one of your hands.
True.
All true. Like,
Scary.
it sounds scary. So are you on stage at this point playing, not feeling one of your hands, thinking, oh my God, is this permanent?
What had happened was, I never got down to the stage. I was on the top. It was the set where we had the 4 Marshall cabinets. I'd walk out on top, walk over, then walk down a staircase.
Okay.
Well, I walked over. I was just about to walk down the staircase. It was the beginning of the show. I grabbed the railing, and I wasn't grounded properly. I got zapped with 220 volts. But luckily, it knocked me back, not down, forward.
boy.
It knocked me back, because if it knocked me forward, I would have dropped, 20 feet and broke my neck. So it knocked me back. My bodyguards came up, dragged me off, and I had burns on my hand. And I'd lost feeling in it, and it took me, a good 10, 15 minutes, but the audience started chanting Ace, Ace. And that got my adrenaline going and brought me back to life, and I finished the show. But I couldn't feel anything in the hand.
And I mean, you also paint a really good picture of what New York City was like in the 60s and the 70s. I mean, the grunge of it, really the dirt.
Yeah.
There's a part in the book where you got stabbed by someone.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I was walking out of Max's Kansas City, which was basically the competition to CBGB's. It was a very nice club. Everybody went there. I was coming out of the club, and there were 2 guys fighting. And me, being the good Samaritan, came in between them, not knowing what the fight was about. And this poor little guy was being slapped around, punched around by this tall, big guy. So I figured, let me help the little guy. I get in between them, and it's the little guy that stabbed me. So here I am. What the hell's going on here? So he got me under the arm, and then I had to go to the hospital and get cauterized. And it's funny, one of the police officers in the car goes, "Don't bleed in the back seat. Put your finger in your wound."
right. I remember reading that.
So I had to listen. I hit my head on tour and cracked my skull. Not skull, but like I had to get my head stapled back together right before we were supposed to go on to play in, I want to say Milwaukee. And I hit my head and started bleeding. It's like, I'm on in 10 minutes or something. And came into the dressing room, and it's like people are, what's the matter? It's like, I hit my head, can you have a look? And there's like, oh my God. And I was like, is it bad? Yeah. Oh shit, okay, but yeah, we're going on anyways, I have to just get this out. And then the paramedics came to take a look, and they said like, this is not good. And at that point I started going pale, and so we canceled the show. But I was like 5 minutes before I was ready, but then I started feeling sick. So I got like 7 staples in my head, and it hurt. It wasn't that bad.
It said in 2001, you were diagnosed with cardiomyopathy, and you were originally given between 6 days and 6 weeks to live.
Right.
What's it like hearing that news?
At the time, I just remember being concerned about how I was going to make up the dates that I canceled when I got sick in the first place. That was my biggest concern. And I managed to get through it, and I did make up the dates, so it's all good.
What's your mindset during that period? It feels like you're just being jerked around all these ways. They're thinking of removing your heart. Other people are saying you're going to die in less than a week.
Right. But I was pretty out of it at the time. I don't think the impact, the graveness of it really hit me at the time.
I guess that maybe is something
I
that
was invincible. I was like, I'll get through it, and that was it. I was just totally like, just show me what I got to do, and I'll get through it. And lo and behold, sort of did what they told me to do, and
right, lifestyle change and stuff.
A little bit.
You were tangled up in court for the blasphemy hearing for 5 years, I think it was. It was a really long time for something that happened in 2007, and they kept finding ways to recharge you with slightly different crimes each time, and you got acquitted, and you got charged again. Yeah. And during this time, you were also fighting cancer.
Yeah.
That must have been a very difficult time in your life.
You can imagine that those problems were the least important on the list of problems in my life back then, because I was like, with all my vitality and life affirmation and lust for life, I was all focused on just beating the shit out of this motherfucker that was growing here. Like the physical form was right in the middle of my chest. When I was breathing, I was whistling. It was kind of funny. I mean, I remember when I was out, like with my ex, went out to Greece, and I was already sick, and I was falling asleep, and she was laughing. Why are you whistling? Like, because whenever I was breathing, it's like, I'm sweating more, like triple what I usually sweat. Why? And then I ended in the hospital. It happened that I had like a 1.5 liter, which is 3 times this in my, it was stuck in my lungs. And then they would just put like a pipe, like they would just drill the pipe through my ribs straight to my lungs. And I'd be walking with a can for like 2 days.
The most recent tattoo I've got is my phoenix. And this was a celebration, personal thing, after a year of sobriety, that I decided I wanted to not only wake up every day and remind myself how far I've come, but how far I have to go. This industry is not nice sometimes to certain people, and I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that I wasn't going anywhere. So this was not only a symbol of my strength, but also hopefully, a symbol that other people can look at and have some kind of faith in it and know they're not alone. It's a big deal to me. But this is actually imperative to shedding skin. It's my sign of it, again, rolls into the phoenix. When I came out, they had to put me in a coma. My body had shut down, and I wasn't there. I died for like almost 2.5 minutes, and so I woke up like, I think it was 3 days later, 3.5 days. Yeah, right. And I didn't recognize myself. Let's put it that way. I couldn't walk for 2 days. They had to help me outside, and they had to help me use the bathroom, and so I looked in the mirror, and it was like Gollum. I was green and ugly and pale, and I was like, what the f*** happened to me? And that's when I decided I was gonna shed skin and be the man that I should have always been, and I can be. The biggest part for me, especially in sobriety, yes, it's the band. Yes, it was for my kids. Yes, it's for my family. Yes, it's for everything in the world, but at the beginning of the day, it starts with me. And so this was the point of peeling that shit away and starting fresh.